Hi, my name's Lily. I'm the book reviewer behind Utopia State of Mind, and I read 386 books in 2023, and there were some thoughts on that. The internet had things to say, and so I have some things to say back to the internet, which warranted a whole video because I gotta say, I got more views than normal for the video. So this was what happened. I came back from my mini vacation and I went in to start looking at a video, try to start editing it, and I also realized there was a mistake with the thumbnail title. And then I was like, oh wow, this video where I say that I read 386 books of 2023 and I talk about my top 10 favorites, got more views than normal. That's really exciting. And then I saw the comments and I was like, oh, not so exciting. So I wanted to chat about it because there were a lot of things, and I tried to respond to them in the comments, but there are a lot of things that I had to digest. And then as I was digesting them, I realized, well, no, I want to talk about it. So let's talk, okay? I also have my tea because I've been filming a lot today, but also please take this message from my teacup as a sign of how this video will go. So this video will be broken into two parts. First of all, I'm going to talk about some of the claims or some of the things that were said in the actual comments of the video. Please obviously don't go harass the people who made these comments. I'm only talking about it because I've seen similar comments along my platform, but also similar conversations that we've been having in the book community for a while, which is why I wanted to make this video. So the first of all, one of the claims that was made, or one of the things that was mentioned is that I was lying and have not read 386 books in 2023. And I just have to tell a funny story, actually, because I'm kind of like a porcupine or a hedgehog. So when I get upset, I don't want anyone to touch me. I don't want anyone to talk to me. I just want to stew a little bit in my feelings and figure out how I'm feeling. So finally, when I was ready to tell my partner about what happened, it went like this. So my video got a lot of views. They weren't great. And then they were like, oh, were they also being racist to you? Which has happened in the past on a live I was doing on Twitter. And I was like, no, they weren't. They just called me. They just essentially, one of the main components were that they were just said I was lying and I hadn't read 386 books in 2023. And my partner was like, I wish you hadn't read 386 books in 2023. That's hilarious because I also wish you hadn't read that. You need to stop reading as much. So that's kind of how that conversation went. And then I was like, ha. Actually, now I need to make a video. So basically, I'm not lying. And as a different commenter pointed out, yes, you can go check the Goodreads. I'm pretty sure that I've left Goodreads reviews in 2023 for all of the books that I read. They're all in a spreadsheet, honestly, with all my reviews and ratings anyways. But you'll also find the bulk of them on my book blog, and you'll also find my reviews on Goodreads. So I realized that what you see of one person is not going to be the entirety of what you see of them. And I think that I've come across this on my social media platforms a lot because of the way that my book reviewer career kind of has taken off. So I'm around on a lot of different social media. And so the person you see here is me as a person, but it's not the whole person you see. And it's certainly not the person you see of me, doing this since 2016. And also me moderating the 36 panels that I moderated in 2023. So, my book reviewer career trajectory is not all this. So that's the first thing I wanted to talk about is A, you can just fact check me on this one, but also B, I exist more than just on YouTube. I exist on a variety of different places, which you can also find in the description box below. So secondly, there was also another thing that was saying, oh, you must be reading over one book a day. Yes, that is how math works. When you look at the amount of books I read, there's only 365 days in a year. I read 386. That is more than one a day. That is true. I talked about it actually a little bit in my 4.5 tips to read more, which was specifically addressing people who wanted to learn how to read more. And I think I talked a lot about audiobooks in that video. I listen to a lot of audiobooks. I listen to them also on 1.5 speed because that's kind of the speed that my brain is currently working at. And so I read a lot of audiobooks. That definitely helps in the count. Also, I guess if people want to have a video that where I share like how much I read and how I read that much, please let me know down below because I will make that video. But that's not this video. This video is about something else. But anyway, also, I think that I talk in that video as well, but I read multiple books a day. Like in the sense that I'm reading 4 or 5 books concurrently at the same time. This helps me avoid reader burnout where you're reading a book and you're really enjoying it, but you're kind of just like tired of reading. For me, it helps to switch gears, switch genres, switch age groups, and I do. So I'm reading about 4 to 5 to 6, I guess if you count the audiobook that I'm reading currently at that day, books concurrently at the same time. So in a variety of different ways, this statement is true. I am reading more than 1 book a day. So honestly, that one I was like, yep, that checks out factually. So the other one was like, oh, are you reading? Well, you must be reading over 9 hours. I am going to do a reading vlog, honestly, or a day in my life vlog, because honestly, I don't know if I am reading over 9 hours. I just wanted to add. So I was thinking about this and I did the math. I'm not good at math, but I did the math, mostly because I was inspired by a TikTok video, which I will link in the description box below, also discussing this topic of people who are passing judgment or people who are not understanding how someone can read so many books in a year. So what they did is they broke it down in the math. So I'm going to break it down in my rudimentary math. So I read 386 books in 2023. If you assume that each one of those are 400 pages, which I think is a pretty high assumption because I think the majority of books I'm reading probably are between 300 to 400 pages, but then there's middle grade and there's graphic novels. So, 400 pages, if you assume each is 400 pages, that's 154,400 pages. If then you took that amount of pages and you divided it by the pages per hour somebody reads. So I think that the video said that the average reader reads 60 pages per hour. I've kind of tracked mine in the past, and it's more around 100 pages per hour, which I know is fast, but I have always grown up reading really quickly, and 100 pages per hour is kind of where I'm landing when I think of the average time it takes for me to finish a book. So 100 pages per hour, then you get 1,544 hours, and then you divide 1,544 hours divided by 365, which is the amount of days in the year, and you get 4.2 hours a day, 4.2 something hours a day. This is pretty doable in my opinion. Obviously, as many people have pointed out that I've talked to considerably since then, this is every day 4.2 hours. So that is a consideration to make, like no breaks, no weekends, basically. But 4.2 hours a day. As I've also mentioned before, I read audiobooks at 1.5 speed because the audiobooks at 1 speed or 1 normal speed are just too slow for me. So I think that 4.2 hours a day is doable. Whether or not you choose to do that per day, your own personal choice, that's obviously depending on you. This is just what I choose to do with my 4.2 hours a day. Or if you think about it, with if I were to watch a movie every night, over dinner or whatever, then that's like almost 4.2 hours because movies are clocking in, I feel like around 3-ish hours, depending on the type of movie you're watching. So I just wanted to give it a little bit of math context for my reading as a whole. First of all, I need a tea break. And second of all, this point leads me into the second portion of the video where I'm going to be talking more about the larger conversations within the book community sphere that has occurred in a variety of different time periods, which is honestly why I decided to make this video, because I think that a lot of these conversations that I had regarding that video ended up reminding me a lot of conversations we've already been having a lot in the bookish community, and also ones where I see a lot all the time popping up like every year basically. So another thing that came up was, am I reading a bunch of either very, very short books or a bunch of comics and manga? So I'm going to take this for the benefit of the doubt and with the good intentions, and assume that it's not like manga is not a racist, like, oh, you must be reading a lot of manga because you're Asian. So I'm going to just put that aside because I'm just going to assume that that's not it. And I'm going to go back to the comic book thing. So I've mentioned in my responses to the comments that I read 12 graphic novels in 2023, and I actually didn't read any comic books in 2023. I'm not a huge comic book reader. I also didn't read any manga in 2023. I'm not a huge manga reader either. So I read graphic novels, but also only 12, so essentially one a month in 2023. So what I think that this comment, and honestly it spurred me to make this video, is that I felt like these comments we're passing judgment on people who are reading a lot of comic books and manga, and inherently and maybe implicitly also judging them for like not being reading, which is wrong because they are. So that's why I'm a little bit confused. So they are reading, 100% valid. And so also in my comments, I try to just be like, but even if I did read 386 manga / comic books in 2023, it would still be 100% valid reading and would 100% be counted in my total of how many books I read in 2023. So I don't understand. But anyway, this judgment and this implicit conversation happening again about discounting either forms of reading, types of reading, genres of reading, and also the numbers of reading is something that came up in 2023 and honestly probably every year since 2016 that I've been a book person on the internet. So first of all, I wanted to talk about conversations about reading numbers, I guess, and the fact that they're kind of just all numbers, right? I think that there's this tendency for people to say, oh, you just put like 386 books in your thumbnail as like a brag. My intention of doing that was just to give a scale of like, this is how many books I'm reading, and these are like me really, really trying to battle royale style duke out the top 10. Like, it was very difficult. If you've been following me on my channel at all, you will understand I have a whole list of favorites of 2023 broken down into different genres, broken down into different age groups, into sequels. You know, most of these videos have already been posted, but a lot of them are to come. So my intention of doing the 386 of 2023 was to kind of be like, yo, this was really hard to get it down to top 10. And it was. I spent days being like, oh, is this book? What about that one? I don't know. So that was my intention for it. But in general, the amount of books you're reading is just a number. And so whether I've read 386 books in 2023, or if I read one, or if I read 0, to me, it's not about quantity, it's about quality. It's about the fact that, like, you don't need to read a lot of books to be considered a reader. You can read one, or you can not have read any. You could be in a reading slump for the whole year and still consider yourself a reader. I think that this validity of the title of being a reader, being a reviewer, I don't understand who is on the committee for deciding these titles, but in my opinion, like, there's nothing to decide about it. If you think you're a reader, you're a reader. It does not matter how many books you've read or how few books you've read. Like, this conversation is irrelevant in that sense. And so I wanted to just talk about, like, numbers are numbers are relative. I try not to define myself by numbers in general, but they're just numbers. That's number one point, I guess, of my second part of this video is numbers are just numbers, right? Secondly, I want to talk a little bit about what I also chatted about before, which is the kind of implicit judgment in the idea about comic books and manga and sort of graphic novels. So I think I've seen this argument come up a bunch, which is like, oh, these things aren't counted as reading. I don't know. No. We don't necessarily tell people what counts as reading. Audiobooks are reading, comic books are reading, graphic novels are reading, manga is reading, middle grades reading, romance books are reading. Like, it's reading. Okay. All of these things are reading. I really, this community, this space, why I'm making this video, I want to affirm to people that this channel, this is the opinions, these are the judgments, this is the community I'm trying to protect and grow on this channel. The idea that all of the things that I just mentioned are reading. Also, the thing I just mentioned before, it doesn't matter how much you've read, honestly. if you consider yourself a reader, you're a reader. These are the core tenets of the channel, of the community that I would like to be growing on honestly all my social media platforms, in my life in general, but also on this specific channel. And so I think that these judgments about what media forms count as reading, could we just not? Could 2024 just be the year we just don't? That would be great, because I think that it's not productive. And I also think that all of these two different points that I've been talking about, to me, kind of scream a little bit about the insecurity or the policing of what we think these identities are, these arbitrary goalposts, the kind of gatekeeping about what reading is, what a reader is, if you've read enough, if you haven't read enough. Like, all of these things are kind of screaming not the vibe I want for 2024, and honestly, not the vibe we want at all in the reading spaces. I'm here to share with you the books that I love, the books that I would recommend, and a variety of other things. Knitting, earring making, vlogs. Like, I'm not necessarily here to be the one to tell you whether you are or not a reader, but it is very important to me that I'm very clear on the matter about where I stand on those two things, mostly because I feel like I've talked about it in previous videos, but also I imagine it's gonna come up again. And so this video is just an excuse for me to be very firm about how I feel and the space that I'm trying to cultivate on this YouTube channel. So this was a very strange video for me to make, honestly. I was wiffle waffling, honestly, if I was going to make it at all, but I have made it, and I hope that you enjoyed it. I don't know how to outro this. Like, if you have any further thoughts or conversation about it, please let me know below. Actually, no. Yeah, I mean, of course, yes. If you have any thoughts or further conversation, please let me know below. But let's do something fun. Let's do something totally fun. What is the best thing you watched last week? Video, TV, TikTok, meme. What is the best thing that you watched last week? Let's just talk, okay? I'll see you in the next video. Bye.